Imagine trying to build a temple without bringing a single brick to the construction site. Instead, you find a mountain, you stand at the very top, and you start carving your way down. That is exactly how the builders of the Kailasha temple, Cave 16 at the Ellora complex in India, approached their work. They dug deep trenches to isolate a massive block of basalt, ultimately removing an estimated 200,000 tons of rock to create a structure covering twice the area of the Parthenon in Athens. This is a masterclass in subtractive architecture. Because they were carving downward, the intricate spires and detailed roof panels you see here were completely finished before the ground floor even existed. If a sculptor made a mistake, they couldn't add a patch of stone to fix it. Accomplishing a top-down monolith without a single structural failure requires a workforce with exact spatial coordination and intense motivation. The scale of that coordination becomes clear when we pull back from Kailasha. The site sits along an ancient trade route, and the excavation zone stretches for over 2 kilometers along the Charanandre Hills, containing more than 100 distinct caves. Out of those, 34 are open to the public today. 17 are Hindu monuments, 12 are Buddhist temples, and 5 are Jain caves. Throughout history, competing religious factions would claim prime real estate by tearing down their rivals' shrines and building directly on top of the rubble. Ellora completely breaks that pattern. Here, 3 highly distinct faiths spent 4 centuries carving deeply detailed permanent temples right next door to each other, sharing the exact same cliff face. The geology itself invited this intense concentration of building. Millions of years ago, lava flows created the Deccan Traps, thick horizontal layers of volcanic rock forming a sheer vertical cliff. This fine-grained basalt allowed artisans to execute highly detailed sculptures without the rock shattering. Between the years 550 and 600 CE, early Hindu builders were the first to take advantage of this canvas. They started excavating near the center of the site, letting the natural shape of the rock guide their designs. The architects of Cave 29 physically integrated the mountain's natural features, positioning the shrine so the Vale Ganga waterfall would cascade directly over the temple's south balcony during the monsoon season. By successfully establishing these massive initial shrines, those first Hindu artisans proved the basalt could hold extreme weight. They beta tested the mountain, clearing the way for the next wave of builders. Following the Hindu pioneers, Buddhist practitioners under the Chalukya dynasty arrived around 600 CE. They scaled up the ambition of the site, carving massive, multi-story viharas, or monasteries, that included dedicated living quarters, kitchens, and prayer halls. Look closely at Cave 10, the Carpenter's Cave. Artisans deliberately carved the solid stone to mimic a wooden building. Every joint, beam, and rib is a stone illusion. None are load-bearing. The cave supports itself as one continuous rock. Taking the time to carve non-functional architectural details shows that the builders had achieved total mastery over the material. They were treating a mountain of basalt as if it were flexible timber. Hindu rulers regained control of the region in the 8th century, leading to the construction of the Kailasha temple under King Krishna I. This vintage photograph emphasizes the harsh, barren landscape that the artisans somehow transformed into an elaborate, freestanding complex. After Kailasha, the final major wave of excavation came from the Jain community. Their temples took up a smaller footprint, but they pushed the detail even further, carving flawless geometric patterns directly into the load-bearing columns. Over 400 years, 3 rival religions carved their holiest sites into the exact same cliff. But looking at the structural blueprints, a distinct pattern emerges. The layout of a Hindu assembly hall perfectly matches the floor plan of a Buddhist monastery. We also find tantric Buddhist goddesses carved into Hindu spaces, and Jain deities standing in the exact same physical postures as the Hindu god Shiva. The artistic styles across the relief panels are uniformly identical. These overlaps point to a highly efficient reality. The same local architects and laborers were crossing theological lines, taking the techniques they learned on a Buddhist cave and applying them to a Hindu or Jain temple right next door. Active construction at Ellora stopped in the 13th century, and the region eventually fell to invading Islamic armies between the 15th and 17th centuries. During this period of occupation, military forces systematically moved through the caves, intentionally desecrating the idols by smashing the faces, breasts, and limbs of the statues. But they couldn't destroy the monuments themselves. Because the temples were carved entirely out of the surrounding earth, raising them to the ground was mathematically impossible without leveling the entire mountain range. The idols took superficial damage, but the sheer mass of the walls held firm. Today, Ellora remains a fully protected monument, standing structurally intact after outlasting brutal monsoons, shifting empires, and centuries of warfare. The caves stand as a physical record of ancient engineering. But they also prove that when an entire society focuses its energy on a single piece of stone, competing faiths can share the exact same foundation.